This broadcast from the Matrix Midwest Studios is brought to you by New Ground International. It's time to plan, design, and build your future. Start today at newground.com.
Welcome to The Fight on Matrix Midwest with Randy Carricker and company.
Hi kids, welcome to the program. Great to have you with us. That's Andrew Rogers, I'm Randy Carricker, and we are ready for another exciting week of sports here in The Fight, aren't we?
No, we live for sports here in The Fight.
Coming up, can Mizzou do a better job of getting top football stars out of St. Louis? We have 4 downs from the National Football League, and later we have story time with Uncle Randy. But let's get things started with our quick hits. And we'll start with the Cardinals. They agreed to terms with former Dodgers and Red Sox right-hander Dustin May over the weekend. He will compete for a spot in the Redbird rotation. May was once the Dodgers' top pitching prospect, but he's been beset by injuries in his entire career. But in 2025, he had a career-high 23 starts and 132 innings for the Dodgers and Red Sox, and actually was third on the Dodgers with 18 starts behind only Yoshi Yamamoto and Clayton Kershaw. He was moved at the deadline, didn't fare as well for Boston, but this is a guy, Andrew, with ability, and I'm sure the Cardinals think, okay, we can get the most out of him. Remember how Chris Carpenter was always hurt when the Cardinals got him from Toronto? May is kind of in the same situation, not to compare Dustin May to Chris Carpenter, but the situations upon their arrival to St. Louis are almost eerily similar.
And you have opportunity in front of you. If you just look at the starting rotation for the Cardinals right now, and you stopped it with Dustin May, and then you had Libby and McGreevy, and you can settle with Palante, and then probably a Leahy on the back end. This is something that you can work with. Do you want to finish here? No, you still want to go out and get probably another top-end starter where you can say, like, hey, you can also do what Dustin May is trying to do, like the Tony Gonsolins of the world, another Dodger who's looking for a home right now. Or you can go all the way off the beaten path and get a guy like Foster Griffin. Do you know who that is?
No.
Sounds like a St. Louis Cardinal already. He's coming over from Japan, and he had one of his best seasons in Japan, and he was one of the Royals' top prospects back in like 2015. You could maybe get a guy like that to revitalize his career here as well.
That's a Mo pickup. By the way, I don't know if you noticed this, but if the Cardinals did this, it was actually a pretty smart move on the part of Gray. What you want to do with May is you want to have yourself pitching against the White Sox. It always makes you look good.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, 2 more stars in the NFL were lost for the season in Week 15. As you know, Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes and Packers edge rusher Micah Parsons both suffered torn ACLs in their knees. Those two join, among many others, Giants youngsters Malik Nabers and Cam Scatabo, Commanders quarterback Jaden Daniels, both of the Chargers offensive tackles and running back Najee Harris, and 49ers defenders Nick Bosa and Fred Warner. I wonder if there's anything the NFL can do about this, the scourge of injuries. And I know it's a grueling, gruesome sport, but man, when you're losing stars like this, especially late in the season, if you're the Packers, you lose a guy that you're counting on at playoff time, that's a real negative for the NFL. And I don't know if it's the turf, I don't know if it's the conditioning, I don't know if it's the lack of conditioning, but they've got to do something about these injuries.
Yeah, I think it's just a combination of bad luck and violent physics. If you look at the injuries that happen because of hits, it's because the NFL today is bigger, faster, stronger than it used to be. And if a 250-pound linebacker is running full speed at my planted knee, the 250-pound linebacker is going to win every time. As for the non-contact injuries, I just think that's more bad luck over anything else because your brain is telling your body to do one thing, your body's not reacting, and who knows if soft tissue injuries can linger, that leads to ligament damages in other ways. I'm no doctor, I wish I was. If I were in this case and could solve the issue, I'd be a rich man.
But here's the thing, back in the 70s, they were playing on turf, and we didn't have nearly as many soft tissue and non-contact injuries as there are now. I kind of think that the players are in too good a shape, if that's a possibility. I think that's one of the issues that they have. You talk about big, strong, fast, maybe it's too big, too strong, too fast.
And that's what I really do believe it is. When you have these guys that just look like every catalog model that you dream about looking like as a high school kid working your way to be an NFLer someday.
At The Athletic, Katie Wu reports that the Mariners and Giants have emerged as the main suitors for Cardinals second baseman Brendan Donovan. The Cardinals apparently aren't looking exclusively at pitching either. The report notes that the Cards are interested in a Mariners minor league outfielder and a Giants minor league infielder. I'm a little bit surprised by that. I thought that Chaim Bloom and his staff would go all in on pitching. I don't have a problem with it. I don't think you can ever have too many good players. I just figured that if the Cardinals made a move, especially with a guy like Donovan, that they would land a middle of the rotation or front of the rotation starting pitcher and another pitcher to have at the minor league level.
I'm thinking the exact same way. Surprise is a great word because it's never a problem to have the best player available at any point in time. And if the Cardinals can continue to just get prospect returns, they'll start rebuilding their farm system to look like the Cardinals farm system of old. It makes me laugh sometimes too when I look across Major League Baseball because all of these fans chime in and they try to undersell for a guy or undervalue Brendan Donovan's potential. Oh, he's not worth this or that. It's like, okay, the Cardinals don't need to get your 15th best prospect and maybe a smattering of others. If you're not going to give up your 3 and 7 at some point in time, the Cardinals are cool with keeping Brendan Donovan. So don't think that it's all in or all out.
Almost every reasonable and rational observer of this situation and the legitimate news reporters are saying that half the teams in baseball, 15 teams, are interested in Brendan Donovan. They aren't interested in giving up a 15th best prospect for him. If you are one of the teams that really wants him, you know that you're going to have to pay a premium for him.
And the best thing working for you is when you have 15 other teams going after the same guy, the price tag just keeps on going up.
CBC product Jeremiah Love finished third in the Heisman Trophy voting, but as bowl season and the college football postseason unfold, we're going to see a lot of St. Louis area players participating. Hazelwood Central defensive lineman Tion Gray and CBC wide receiver Jeremiah McClellan of Oregon, wideout Ryan Wingo of Texas, among many others. Mizzou has done a really good job in St. Louis, but they don't really have any stars out of St. Louis. Kevin Coleman this year was their best St. Louis player, most notable St. Louis player. I think Eli Drinkwitz needs to get stars from our area to Columbia.
You have to win in your own backyard. Speaking of Kevin Coleman, he didn't start in Columbia. He just ended up there via the transfer portal. If you want to build a pipeline, it all starts with the stars there in the beginning. You have to find more Luther Burdens to build from. And if you can, then more kids that are currently in the St. Louis area or even in Kansas City will say, I want to go to Mizzou more than I want to go to Texas. And it's more, I guess it's less about money and more about loyalty at the end of the day there. But you also have the practical advantages of, hey, you're playing in your home state. Your family can come visit you. If you build relationships too with these coaches, they can advocate for your program too at the high school level. So it's a lot of moving parts there, but Eli Drinkwitz is starting to do the right thing.
And I think Eli needs to make that personal connection with players. I get having somebody come in and him being the closer, but he's got to be the closer for every player in St. Louis. He has to meet these players, and he has to understand that they want to come to Missouri, but he has to be the one that makes them want to come to Missouri. He can't recruit a player and then never meet him.
And there's so many good, talented kids here in the state right now that it hurts to watch them go to Notre Dame. It hurts to watch them go to Texas. You just have to get one, and hopefully it's that scene or that line from Field of Dreams. If you build it, he will come.
And they're going to have to pay the kids, and we know that. He knows that, but there's more to it. You got to charm the kids, too. The Minnesota Wild made a massive trade for Vancouver defenseman Quinn Hughes over the weekend, and as Jeremy Rutherford wrote at The Athletic, quote, now that Hughes is in the Central Division, the Blues could see the star defenseman 2 more times a season, 4 total. Based on his history against them, that's not great news. In 17 games, he has 5 goals, tied for the second most against any team, and 12 points. Also, along with Colorado's Cale Makar and Dallas Miro Heiskanen, the division now boasts 3 of the most dynamic defensemen in the league, and the Blues could see one of them in 12 of their 82 games. Should Hughes' presence in the division affect the Blues' plans at the trade deadline? I know I'm working ahead here, but you have a guy that's killed the Blues and is playing for one of the best teams in the division. I think that's a guy that wins a couple of games for Minnesota against St. Louis.
I think so too, and I'm happy that JR brought up Colorado and he brought up Dallas in the example because you already heard from Quinn Hughes that he's willing to sign a long-term stay with Minnesota because he likes the core, that young core. Well, then you look at Dallas. They have a nice, really good young core. You look at the Avs. They have a nice, really good young core. And the Blues are just too far behind. So that's why, to your question, they should be more sellers right now even toward the trade deadline, just looking across the league and saying, how can we even compete with the top 3 in our division? It's nearly impossible.
Well, and you look at those teams that you mentioned. McCarr, McKinnon, superstars, right? Kaprizov and now Hughes, superstars. You're looking at Dallas at Ranton and Heiskanen.
And Robertson.
And Robertson, superstars. The Blues still don't have that guy. They need to get that guy at some point.
They hope to have that guy in Jordan Kyrou. He's just never turned out to be that guy.
Those are your quick hits here in The Fight. And later in the show, you can participate in some risky business with us. We're going to pick out a parlay. All you need to do is head to one of the websites, and we're going to make our bet, and then you can check it out on social media and make it for yourself if you'd so desire. Coming up next as we roll on here in The Fight, we're going to tell you a little bit about the NFL and Week 15. That's coming up next in The Fight. Hey, I want you to know about my friends at St. Luke's and their cancer treatment and services that include surgery and medical and radiation oncology and cancer rehab, plus wound healing and hyperbaric medicine, palliative care. They're amazing at what they do for you when you're diagnosed with cancer at St. Luke's. Their Center for Cancer Care is convenient to the entire metro area, and the team treats you as family, and they understand that that is what you need at that point in time. The doctors at St. Luke's have an absolutely wonderful bedside manner with you and your family members, and they'll help you through the entire process so that you can get back to what you want to be. And don't forget, they have great urgent care facilities for St. Luke's as well. Walk-in clinics, flu season is here, and care when you need it at St. Luke's Urgent Care. They make it easy to get the flu vaccine for your family. It's not too late to protect the ones you love this winter. Open on holidays, including Christmas and New Year's Day, and here when you need us. 2 walk-in clinics in De Pere and in Eureka. Visit stlukes-stl.com or call 314-205-6200 for St. Luke's. Time now for 4 Downs from Week 15 in the National Football League. And the Kansas City Chiefs will miss the playoffs for the first time in the Patrick Mahomes era, the first time in a decade after KC lost to the Chargers in Kansas City and were eliminated. But folks, even with the injury to Patrick Mahomes, are way too quick to try to shovel dirt on this team's grave and dance on that grave. The Eagles got rid of Andy Reid after they missed the playoffs in 2011 and 2012, and after he'd been to 5 NFC championship games. All he's done with KC is go to 5 Super Bowls and win 3. Don't forget, this is a guy that won with Donovan McNabb, with Michael Vick, and with Kevin Kolb. He'll be fine. And Mahomes is far from done. It's a routine surgery now. It takes a lot of rehab, but the ACL reconstruction is a pretty routine surgery for athletes now. You may want the Chiefs dynasty to be over, but they played a lot of football over the last 9 years. They get a chance to reset. Let's see what happens next year before we declare them dead.
Well, it's just so funny because we talk all the time about Patrick Mahomes being the greatest quarterback of all time. We used to do the same thing with Tom Brady. And Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes have had similar injuries now. And Brady came back, and how many Super Bowls did he win?
He won 3 more.
Yeah, well, 3 more with the Patriots,
Tampa,
and then 1 more with Tampa. Who's to say that Patrick Mahomes, if we considered him better than Brady today, wouldn't do another 3 Super Bowls after he comes back from this injury?
And Andy Reid and Brent Veach are smart enough to know what they have to do. Patrick Mahomes this year was the 2nd most hit quarterback in the league when he got hurt after Justin Herbert. He also, in many games, and Andrew has mentioned this, led their team in rushing. They need to fix the offensive line. They need to fix their running game, which is something that Andy Reid likes to do anyway. And if they fix those, they have a top 5 defense. The offense actually in yards was a top 7 offense this year. It wasn't terrible. It just wasn't happening for them. But they'll be back, and it'll happen for them again. Don't have too much glee if you're a Chiefs hater.
And it's clickbait, right? This whole story is clickbait, but it's obnoxious. Like, anybody saying that the dynasty is dead is just completely ridiculous.
Pretty quick to do that, yeah.
All right, first down for me. Last week, Joe Burrow said to keep playing this game, he has to have fun. And Jamar Chase thought it was AI, but not even AI could get shut out at home by the Ravens. Yeah, that can't be very much fun. The Bengals are now out of the playoffs, which is probably best at this point in the season. It gives Burrow the chance to find his beach to spend a month in January. And you almost have to wonder about the comments he made going into Week 15? Could he pull an Andrew Luck and just hang it up and suddenly say, hey, this offseason I'm done? Or do the Bengals look to trade him to bring back the fun of the game? Regardless, things are murky in Cincinnati, and it's more personal than I think it is football for Burrow, but the football not being good can only enhance the personal struggles.
There was an interesting piece by Diana Rossini in The Athletic, and she was talking to people in the organization and people around football. And I thought one of the most notable things was, this guy is not going to quit. He's a serial killer. All he cares about is winning football games. All he cares about is football. And other people made the point, hey, he's from Ohio. He wants to help the city of Cincinnati. And in talking to people that actually reside in Cincinnati, Joe Burrow is kind of the soul and the heartbeat of that city. He is the swagger. He brings swagger to the city of Cincinnati. He knows what he has there. He doesn't want to go anywhere. This is a guy that on football weekends, he won't even let his parents stay at his house because he's so focused on the game the next day. He's not going anywhere. He just wants to find a way to win. And I think when you talk about the personal, that's it. That it's for him, he's devastated by not winning, and he needs to find a way to win. And oh, by the way, the Bengals have given him everything he's asked for. They signed Jamar Chase. They signed the offensive lineman. They signed T. Higgins. They need to fix the defense. That's not on him. That's on them.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? If you're the Bengals and you screw this up, that's an indictment on you as an organization than it is on Joe Burrow. If Joe Burrow ever said, like I just said, if he ever said, I'm going to hang it up early before anybody else thought he would, that's a Bengals problem, because Joe Burrow is, to your point, the heart and soul of that city, and you just kind of kicked him to the curb.
All right, my second down. You have to be impressed with the numbing consistency of the Texans under DeMeco Ryans. After their win over Arizona on Sunday, Houston is 9-5, a game behind Jacksonville in the AFC South, but in clear control of a wild card spot in the AFC. Under Ryans, the Texans have gone 10-7 into the playoffs, 10-7 into the playoffs, and could do the same thing this year. It's a franchise that's real close, maybe even this year, to being a Super Bowl team. Great special teams. C.J. Stroud leads a really good offense. And by the way, Nico Collins is one of the best receivers in the league now. And their defense might be the best in the NFL. They've gone through the entire season allowing the fewest points. That's a scary team come playoff time.
They might not have a sack leader like Myles Garrett. They might not have just overall stud names like Nick Bosa or a Fred Warner or a Micah Parsons, but they have, to your word, consistency on that defensive side of the football. They have the best defense in all of the NFL, and that it starts and ends with points.
And if you're a quarterback, you walk up to the line of scrimmage, believe me, you know where Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson are.
Those are bigger names.
Those are big-time pass rushers. That if you're a quarterback, you don't want anything to do with those guys.
Right. I don't want to sleep on the fact that they don't have good names on the defense, because you can't be the number one defense in the NFL and not have names like that. They just don't have the tier A. They're like tier A2, the names on that defense. But they could be the top guys here in just the next year or two. The Houston team is really good, and I don't want people to think that, hey, because their offense is like slipping a little bit. They're middle of the pack in terms of the league. They were without C.J. Stroud for a long period of time. They were without Nico Collins for a while. They didn't have a good running back until Woody Marks just decided to be the guy and take over that backfield. And now they're starting to climb up the offensive rankings in terms of numbers. They may be middle of the pack now. They'll probably end the season top 10.
By the way, you're a fun fact guy. This is absolutely true. Woody Marks named after Woody in Toy Story.
No way.
Yep.
How
cool is that?
That is one of my new favorite trivia questions right there. And you know what? Maybe it makes its way to a fight sometime. Well, who knows? Yeah. Although Randy would get it right, so I guess I shouldn't do that.
No,
okay, second down. The Bucs fall off is something to keep an eye on. The NFC South is terrible, and the Bucs just totally blew up. So from the start of November until now, Tampa Bay is 1-6. They're 7-7, in line to lose the division to the Panthers. Granted, those two teams play each other twice in the final 3 weeks of the season, but for the longest time, the NFC South looked to be locked up. A coast job for Tampa, and they did it without most of their team in recent weeks. Now they have everyone back, and they blew a lead to the Falcons Thursday night. You'd have to think they're still the favorite to come away with the division, but I don't think they're as dominant as we thought they were just 6 weeks ago.
And I was talking to a media member in Tampa, and they said Todd Bowles never curses. And he went off on individual players, didn't name players, but he said, hey, we as coaches are doing everything we can. This one's on the players. And I wonder if to an extent, as nice a guy as he is, and everybody that covers football says Todd Bowles is like the nicest guy in the National Football League, but I wonder if he's kind of lost the ear of that team. When he comes out and he rips individuals on the team, that tells me that players aren't listening to him and he's not getting the amount of effort out of them that he wants. And I wonder if maybe that'll sink them.
That team is by far the best team in the NFC South, and they are not looking like a team that could be dominant in the playoffs. I said this probably in October. Baker Mayfield could win the MVP.
Yeah.
He's so far beyond winning an MVP now because of the way that team is playing football, and he's not finding ways to do it either like he was in the early weeks. Now, you can't blame him for blowing a lead on Thursday night. That's the defense's fault. Baker had a 10-point or double-digit lead at some point, and it's not his fault that they lost that football game. But it is something to remember that they got everybody back. Mike Evans had a huge game, and they still couldn't win.
Speaking of blowing leads, my third down, the New England Patriots. And how about those Buffalo Bills? Down 21-0 at New England. They come back and outscore the Pats 21-7 in the second half and win 35-31. Talk about MVPs. Josh Allen might win another one. Buffalo has a very questionable defense, to be sure, but man, they have a quarterback that makes plays when he needs to. Josh Allen with 3 touchdown passes, 193 yards through the air, 48 more on the ground, and the Bills scored the winner midway through the fourth quarter, and the defense actually stepped up at the end. In their last 5 games, though, the Bills have allowed 31 or more points 3 of those 5 games. Can Allen continue to overcome those defensive struggles?
Yes, I think he can, because he is just that special. Before the start of the third quarter, you probably would have thought, yeah, Drake May is probably in line to win the MVP.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you watch Josh Allen do what he does on any given Sunday, and that is take over a football game. It doesn't really matter how bad the other people around him are playing because he can just gloss over those flaws. And to the Bills' credit, they locked up defensively in that game. They weren't very good in the beginning, but they found a way to hold points off the board so Josh Allen could make that comeback.
You can't allow 2 monster runs to one running back like they did to Henderson.
Oh, no, absolutely not. You can't get away with that. But, again, to their credit, they found a way to get it done in the end, to get the football back to Josh Allen so he could be special. Yeah. My third down. I know you all want me to stop talking about the Bears.
No, we don't.
Thank you. At least you don't. Other people at home probably do. But I just can't stop talking about the Bears because they're 10-4, and it's the first time since 2018 that this team has double-digit wins. And here's the thing I want people to think about. And maybe it's a question that I guess I'm going to ask. Is the success we're seeing today sustainable for years? And the reason I ask this is because I saw what year 1 of Matt Nagy brought. And Randy, you've been around and watched a lot of football over the years.
Yep.
Based on what you're seeing out of the Bears and how they're coached, how they're run, how they're compiled right now as an organization, is this a team you could see having consecutive seasons of 10-plus wins or more?
A lot of this comes down to ownership, and the Bears have had that problem at the top with the McCaskey family, and then Ted Phillips being their president for a long time. But it looks like they've got the right person in charge in Ryan Poles at GM. Ben Johnson looks like he's the answer. He's got a good staff, including a great defensive coordinator in Dennis Allen. Now it's a matter of being able to replace their expensive players that leave as free agents when you're drafting low and getting good players still. Now, Poles, disciple of the Kansas City organization, they've done a magnificent job of getting players despite the fact that they're drafting low in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th rounds. And they get a lot of good players out of the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th rounds. So do the Baltimore Ravens. That, to me, is what makes an organization sustainably good, and I see no reason why Poles wouldn't be able to do that.
Oh, man, that makes me feel so good. It makes me feel great, actually.
Yeah, they've got the quarterback, clearly.
They have the quarterback, and defensively, I think that a big thing with Dennis Allen and what he's been able to do, that defense is always hurt.
Yeah.
Every week they're hurt.
Yep.
Yet they find the next guy up, and like the next guy up mentality is probably the theme of that defense now, and they know how to lock down an opponent's offense with only having like a week or two of practice.
And by the way, if
Or
you
day
would
or
have
two,
asked me 10 weeks ago, I would have said, or 11 weeks ago, I would have said, how are they going to replace DeAndre Swift? Well, now they've already got the replacement. He's a rookie,
Kyle
right?
Monunga, yeah, he's a beast.
Yeah.
Now he's got to stop dropping balls on screen passes like I saw on Sunday, but he's still a beast. In the goal line, that's why they trust him.
Okay, speaking of the Bears, with all due respect to Andrew's guy Ben Johnson with the Bears, or Sean Payton of the Broncos, or Mike Vrabel of the Patriots, or Liam Cohen of the Jaguars, the two best coaching jobs in the NFL this year have been turned in by Jim Harbaugh of the Chargers and Kyle Shanahan of the 49ers. Chargers GM Joe Ortiz said last year that the stars of the Chargers were going to be the first-round offensive tackles. They were going to be a ground-and-pound team, use Justin Herbert's talents when they needed to. Well, the Chargers lost their ground when running backs Najee Harris and Omarion Hampton got hurt, and they lost their pound when 60 to 80% of their offensive line went down at any given time, including both of those star tackles, first-rounders Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt, for the season. And premier pass rusher Khalil Mack missed 4 games. Yet, there the Chargers are at 10-4. They swept Kansas City and will be a real threat because of that ground and pound come playoff time. What an amazing job by Jim Harbaugh and his staff. And all that's happened to the 49ers is that they lost their quarterback, Brock Purdy, for half the season. They lost their all-pro tight end, George Kittle, for half the season. Their first-team all-pro edge rusher and linebacker, Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, respectively, for the whole year. And never had a number 1 receiver, Brandon Ayuk. This after the 49ers cut or traded 17 players during the offseason. Yet there they are at 10-4, tied for 3rd in the whole league with the Chargers, the 3rd best record in the NFL. Kudos to Kyle Shanahan and his staff. Give me a vote for Coach of the Year, and it's going to one of those two, either Shanahan or Harbaugh.
I'm probably giving it to Shanahan, and it's only because he lost his starting quarterback and made it work with Mac Jones. And then that team, like you said, still only ended up with 4 losses. And they play in the NFC West, which I think is the most dangerous of all divisions this season, playing against the Seahawks and the Rams on any given night. It is by far, to me, Kyle Shanahan's race to lose. But I'm with you on Jim Harbaugh. He's done an incredible job. Ben Johnson's done an incredible job. Braves has done an incredible job. It's almost ridiculous how there's so many coaches that could win the sport.
I think Vrabel or Johnson will because I think because Harbaugh and Shanahan are already so established, people don't recognize what an unbelievable job they're doing.
Well, they don't recognize the grit and how hard that is to do. They recognize the splash, and you get that with Vrabel, who's in first place right now, or you get that, well, not anymore. They used to be in first place in the AFC, and then you get it with Ben Johnson's team, who might win the NFC North after finishing in last place.
By the way, one of the great what-ifs that might happen, when the 49ers made that big trade with Miami a few years ago to trade up to number 3 when they took Trey Lance, the original trade was made with the idea of taking Mac Jones. And they were so seduced by Trey Lance's physical abilities that they thought, okay, we'll turn him into a quarterback. What if they had gotten Mac Jones then? Would Brock Purdy have ever been anything?
It's hard to say because Mac Jones was a starter for years with the Patriots. It wasn't like he just was a one and done.
But if he has Shanahan, though, as his coach from day one.
I think it would have been different. Yeah, it would have been different. They wanted Trey Lance, though, to your point, because he looked like Patrick Mahomes. Everything that he did embodied what Patrick Mahomes could do. He was just smaller, and he never came close to being a good quarterback.
No. Now you want a guy that looks like Patrick Mahomes, you go get your guy. Dylan Raiola, right?
Yeah, right. You just need somebody that works out with him, dresses like him, does his pregame warm-up like him. Doesn't really throw like him, though. All right, my 4th down. Last week I said that the NFC, Randy, was scarier than the AFC. And now I'm not too sure because I think it might be even more even than I thought. The AFC is without the Chiefs now, which brings down the numbers substantially, but there are 5 teams with 10-plus wins, and it seems as though when you go down the list and you match everything up, division by division, conference to conference, the NFC has the offensive advantage with 4 teams in the top 9 of total offense, and the AFC has the defensive advantage with 6 teams in the top 11 of the league. And I'm only choosing playoff teams today out of that grouping. So, in fact, if you extend the offensive numbers, the AFC has 5 teams in the top 11, while the NFC holds 3 of the top 5 teams. Lots of numbers I just threw at you, but ultimately what I'm getting at is the AFC is just as scary as the NFC.
I don't think the league has ever been as wide open as it is right now. When you don't have Mahomes in there, when you've got teams like Pittsburgh struggling like they are, you don't know if Lamar Jackson is going to make the playoffs. And in the NFC, now you don't have Micah Parsons. Detroit is down. San Francisco doesn't have the talent. The Rams look kind of like far and away the best team in the league right now, but I don't know if they're any better than Philadelphia. So a lot of things can happen.
Defensively for the Rams, I'm just not overall sold yet. That offense is spectacular, but they just lost Puka Nacua.
Yeah.
And so who knows? And Devontae Adams was shaken up too in that game.
Right. That is 4 downs from the NFL. Coming up, we've got the list here in the fight.
This broadcast from the Matrix Midwest Studios is brought to you by New Ground International. It's time to plan, design, and build your future. Start today at newground.com.
With 44-year-old Phillip Rivers playing reasonably well for the Colts this weekend, and 41-year-old Lindsey Vonn coming out of retirement to ski in the Olympics, we thought that we would give you a list of the greatest sports performances by 40-plus-year-olds ever. And here's my first one, number 3. Jerry Rice, in the 2002 season with the Raiders, at the age of 40, caught 92 balls for 1,211 yards and 7 touchdowns as the Raiders went to the Super Bowl. The next oldest wide receiver to catch that many balls were all 34. Rice himself, Larry Fitzgerald, and Bobby Ingram were 34, and they caught that many balls. Rice, truly timeless and one of the greatest, obviously the greatest, might be the greatest football player ever, but he was even great at the age of 40.
Yeah, if you asked anybody who the best wide receiver of all time is, they would rest on Jerry Rice just because of what he was able to do with 49ers and what he was able to do this late in his football career, because at the age of 40, he looked like he was 30.
And he put 2 quarterbacks into the Hall of Fame, Montana and Young.
Yeah, that seems like a pretty easy thing to do when you are Jerry Rice. Also, if you're Montana, you're like, thank goodness I had that guy.
Yeah, no doubt.
Career.
No doubt.
All right, my number 3, the biggest, baddest, sexiest man to play the sport of baseball, Randy, was Bartolo Colon.
Oh, big
sexy. Almost a no-hitter in 2018 and a home run in 2016. And we'll start with that because he played for 11 different Major League Baseball teams. But this is that one shining moment. After the age of 40, in 2016, he hit his first career home run. And in doing so, he became the oldest Major League Baseball player ever to hit a home run. Then in 2017, at the age of 44, he became the oldest American League pitcher to record a 9-inning complete game since a 45-year-old Nolan Ryan did at the same age in 1992. And at age 45, Randy, during the 2018 season, Colon was the oldest active Major League player and the last to have played for the Montreal Expos. And speaking of that season, he came extremely close in 2018 with the Rangers to have a perfect game no-hitter against the Astros at the age of 44. So this guy, even late into his career, he became the oldest pitcher to do a lot of different things and could have become the oldest to throw a no-hitter. And for a guy in his shape, he sure as heck never lost his luster.
Yeah, safe to say that he was not a steroid guy.
Yeah, if he was, it all went to his gut. Nothing else. It didn't go to the arms or the legs or anywhere else.
My number 2, and this is kind of underrated, amazingly, but Michael Jordan with the Wizards was really good. He was compared to Jordan in his prime, which isn't fair. But in the year that Michael turned 40, he averaged 20 points a game, 6.2 rebounds, 3.8 assists with the 2003 Wizards. He was already the GOAT, but still a great player even at the age of 40 and still tormenting other teams in the NBA, including the Cleveland Cavaliers. He just found ways to do magical things. He couldn't lift them to championship level at the age of 40, but he was still fantastic.
I've never seen a player take over as much in his career than what Michael Jordan did in every stage of his life. He was the one-on-one king, and he was able to do so many awesome things like making the big shot in big moments.
There you go. Beats Cleveland again.
After 20 seasons, Randy, my number 2, he also had 6 Super Bowls with the Patriots. Tom Brady became a free agent in March of 2020. He did retire to spend more time with family, but we all know how that worked out. He chose to unretire and right away became the quarterback of Tampa Bay. And TB had some really good years with the Bucs, but his biggest achievement was winning his 7th Super Bowl at the age of 43. In his first year as a Buc, he threw for 201 3 touchdowns and was Super Bowl MVP. With the win, Brady became the oldest quarterback in Super Bowl history to start, play, and win and receive the MVP award. What's really funny about this, though, is his follow-up season was even better individually. Just Tampa didn't win the Super Bowl, but Brady was ranked first by his fellow players in the National Football League in the top 100 in 2022. His fourth time being ranked first. So at the age of 44, he was still the best to do it.
I thought it was interesting when he left Tampa Bay. They went down the tubes under Belichick, but he goes and wins the Super Bowl. I think that is really telling, and yeah, you have to have that performance past the age of 40 in there. All right, my number one, Nolan Ryan's 7th no-hitter at the age of 44 on May 1st, 1991. When Ryan emerged from the dugout on his way to the mound that night, his back hurting badly, he turned back toward manager Bobby Valentine and said, "This might be it." He was that injured. Then he proceeded to strike out 16 A's, including future Hall of Famer Ricky Henderson for the final out of the game. And Ryan tossed his 7th career no-hitter. Nobody else is even close. And as far as performances over the age of 40 go, that one is going to be difficult to top.
I have never witnessed a more dominant pitcher in my lifetime, and I don't think I will. Because Nolan Ryan was just that different, that stupid good. Man, if you look back at all of his accolades, 7 no-hitters, that's insane. No, there's hardly any pitchers that get 1 in their career.
Yeah, he was absolutely remarkable. By the way, Henderson was his 5,000th strikeout. That wasn't at the end of that game, but still 7 no-hitters and number 7 at the age of 44.
Greatest. Okay, my number 1. It was full of nostalgia, too. When Tiger Woods put on the green jacket for the final time at the age of 43, it just hit different. For a guy that's been through so much, the highs and lows of life, the highs and lows of injury, to be able to compress it all and go out on a Sunday and give a vintage Tiger comeback performance was just special. He was trailing Francesco Molinari the entire tournament and never took a lead until the final 9 holes, and Molinari hit his ball into the water twice for that to happen, and all of a sudden Tiger was in the lead. It was the first time that Woods had won a major championship when he was trailing after 54 holes. He won his 5th green jacket, 15th major. It left him 1 shy of Jack Nicklaus's record 6 Masters wins, and he became the 11th oldest player to win a major and the 2nd oldest Masters winner. Tiger Woods, his celebration on 18 was just so incredibly awesome for the sports kid named Andrew.
Well, and for his kid, Charlie, right? Because when he won the first Masters at the age of 21, he hugged his dad, and then he wins that tournament, and he goes and hugs his kid. And that comeback had started here in St. Louis at the previous year's PGA Championship, and it was remarkable. And little did we know he'd have more back surgeries and be up to 7 as we speak, plus the torn Achilles. You're exactly right. That's going to be his last major. And for him to do what he did under the physical condition that he was in at the time, absolutely remarkable.
The way we reacted to Rory winning his Grand Slam and seeing the tears and everything doesn't even compare to watching Tiger throw both arms up in the air and just let everything go. Because that's basically what he was doing. He let everything go, and he was able to relax once again.
That's the list. Best performances by athletes beyond the age of 40. And coming up, we've got some risky business. We're going to give you a parlay next here in The Fight. All right, time for a little risky business. We're going to build a parlay for you and hopefully come away with a few bucks. And we have some bowl football, college bowl football, which is really fun. And I know this sounds easy, but it is what it is, right? Troy is playing. Troy has an historically strong program going against Jacksonville State. I'm going to go with, even though it's at minus 126, I'm going to go with Troy on the money line to handle Jacksonville State in their bowl game.
I think that's a pretty safe play. And Troy, if you just could go look back at all of the history of bowl games, you'll always see their name.
Yeah.
Troy is always in a bowl game.
They're a good bowl team.
So consistent success.
The Troy Trojans.
How about this, Randy? One of the worst teams in hockey, the Vancouver Canucks, playing at 6 o'clock on Tuesday night. Rangers are at home. They shouldn't lose this hockey game. The fact that it's only minus 134 as a home team against one of the worst teams in hockey is crazy to me. Give me the Rangers.
We're going conservative here.
Yeah, we need to a little bit. Sometimes, you know, in order to make like a proper wager, you need to have winning wagers for our fans at home. So we'll give 213 to everybody at home.
We'll take that. That's your risky business. And you can play that parlay. If you do, be a responsible gambler. Coming up, we've got Take It or Leave It in Story Time with Uncle Randy here in The Fight. All right, time for Take It or Leave It. And as we talked about earlier, the Kansas City Chiefs eliminated from the playoffs in 2025. First time in Patrick Mahomes' career that the team has not made the playoffs. So take it or leave it, Andrew. Mahomes plays in another NFL playoff game.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, I'm taking that.
I will too.
It seems pretty easy for me too, because Mahomes is the X factor. It's not like you have to replace the guy in charge to make the playoffs again. He is the guy in charge. All you have to do is give him the skill position players or a good offensive line to get him there. He'll be fine. They'll get back.
Just turned 30.
Yeah, he'll be fine. He'll make the playoffs probably 7 more times.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, he'll play until he's 45, right?
Right, yeah, he will.
Okay, mine for you, Randy, is this. So, former Mizzou quarterback Brady Cook threw his first NFL touchdown pass this weekend, and his family was absolutely loving it, and frankly, so was I. I love these moments when they cut away right to the family, Randy, and you just get total celebration. Take it or leave it, okay? Family reactions in sports are better than seeing someone you know celebrating the same moment on TV. So you're looking at that person's family versus, oh, hey, there's my neighbor Joe.
Oh, yeah, I'll take that. Yeah, the family reaction is awesome. That was great.
Yeah, I'm all about family reactions. I could see a cousin, I could see my brother, I could see whoever, and I'd still say, yeah, but did you look at Brady Cook's parents hugging, and then the girlfriend, or I don't know if it's a fiance or a sister walking over and also celebrating? It was great.
Is he the future quarterback for the Jets?
I don't think so. I think that they probably will go to the draft and say, I'm going to get this first rounder versus Brady Cook, the unsigned guy. But that doesn't mean that he can't create a case for himself to be it.
No doubt about it. All right, time now for Story Time with Uncle Randy. And Andrew's going to spin the wheel. We're going to come up with a decade, and then we'll come up with a sport. And I'm going to come up with a story to tell you. So here we go. We're going to go to the 1980s. I believe
that
we did
hung
in
on.
our last show. So we've got our decade, and now we'll do a sport for you. And we're going to go 1980s football.
Let me guess, go Big Red.
You want to do Big Red?
I don't care. I want you to do whatever your heart desires.
Okay.
It is your story.
Okay. You know what? We can do. Yeah, we can do a little. You know what we'll do? Because I played in the Brian Jordan Golf Tournament back in October.
Yeah.
And I met a guy named Dwight Hicks. And back in the 80s, 1981, nobody knew that Joe Montana was going to wind up being a great NFL quarterback. But one of the things that made the San Francisco 49ers great at the start of that dynasty was their defensive backfield, which was East St. Louis's and Mizzou's Eric Wright. The other cornerback was named Ronnie Lott. And then at safety, they had Carlton Williamson and Dwight Hicks. And Dwight Hicks was like a third-year guy. The other three were rookies. And the nickname of the secondary for the 49ers when they won their first Super Bowl was Dwight Hicks and the Hot Licks, because they all hit really hard. And they had a terrific defensive line. Fred Dean led the way. They had a good linebacking core. Offensively, obviously, they had Freddie Solomon. They had a really good offensive line. Roger Craig wasn't there yet, so the former Ram, Wendell Tyler, was in the backfield. That's the team that beat Cincinnati for the first time. San Francisco's beaten Cincinnati twice in the Super Bowl. But I remember, and it was so cool to have a Mizzou guy as a rookie winning the Super Bowl with the 49ers. And I mentioned that to Dwight Hicks when I met him. I said, man, I loved Dwight Hicks and the Hot Licks. I had no idea how good that San Francisco team would be. And one of the interesting things he told me, he said, as great a mind offensively as Bill Walsh was, he was just as great a mind defensively. He said a lot of what we did with George Seifert and our defensive coaches was implemented by Bill Walsh. I never knew that. I always thought Bill Walsh was strictly an offensive guy, but he was a great defensive coach too. So 1981 Super Bowl champs, 49ers over the Bengals. And one other quick note, Jack Buck did that game on the radio.
No way.
Vice President Bush, it was played in Detroit at the Silverdome in Detroit. It was snowing on Super Bowl Sunday and traffic was horrible. Jack had to get out of his limo a mile away from the stadium and walk to the stadium because of all the traffic that was put in place by George H.W. Bush at that time.
Oh, come on, man. Yeah, why are you doing that to our guy, Jack? Right?
Yeah, right.
Come on.
So he walked the last mile in the snow to the stadium to get to the booth.
That's awesome. And I'll say this too, the best stories come out on the golf course. Anytime you can share a seat next to a former NFL player, college player, whether you were great or not, you get the best stories on the golf course. I don't know what it is about golf. It just brings out the best in people.
Oh, no doubt about it. Yeah, I think it just opens people up. And so Dwight Hicks and the Hot Licks, that's our story time.
And you know what? That might be the podcast title today.
Oh, there we go. All right, time for this date in sports history, and this one is remarkable. On this date in 2007, in his first trade as Cardinal general manager, John Mozeliak trades one Cardinal postseason hero, Jim Edmonds, to the Padres for another in David Freese. Of course, we remember this from Jim Edmonds, forcing Game 7 against the Houston Astros in 2004. And then the next night, he'd make that incredible catch on Brad Ausmus. And then in 2011, the guy he was traded for does this. Hall of Fame call by Joe Buck, David Freese with the walk-off for the Cardinals in the postseason. And that trade, Jim Edmonds for David Freese, made on this date by John Mozeliak, his first deal in 2007.
What did you think when you first saw that trade happen?
I knew about David Freese. I knew he was a good prospect. And unfortunately, Jim Edmonds just didn't want to be here anymore. So it worked out really well. I liked that trade. I was really excited about David Freese. I thought he'd be a better player than he wound up being.
Freese?
And he wound up being a pretty good player, yeah.
Yeah, he wound up being pretty good for not only us, but outside of this organization, too, after 2011. He was just somebody that, well, frankly, if you can bring home a trophy and be World Series MVP, you will be an icon forever, wherever you stay.
And that was why I gave credit to Mo, because that's a hard first trade to make. I get trading Jim Edmonds for David Freese, but when you make that your very first deal as a general manager, that takes some gumption on the part of the guy who made the deal. And so congratulations to Mo, because that one worked out well.
Well, he had a lot of trades that ended up working out well. He also had some that did not work out.
Yeah, just a couple.
Yeah.
San Diego Contra. And he admitted.
Who was
right?
that?
He said the Ozuna trade was one that, if he wishes he had to do it over, he would. Hey, we hope you like what we're doing here in The Fight. We're always available on the KMOV app and the new Matrix Midwest app, where you can find our podcast. And you can find us on your favorite podcast platform as well. Don't forget to sign up to participate in The Fight. Just go to matrixmidwest.com, go to the Fight with Character and Company tab, and find the place to fill out the form for The Fight. And people can challenge me whenever they want.
Whenever. I don't care if it's rain or snow or sleet, because we're inside nice and warm, all bundled up, and you will be too when you do it on Zoom.
Yep. Hey, we really appreciate you tuning in. A lot of great sports coming up. Bowl season is here. We'll be talking a lot about that in college football playoff. And of course, hopefully the Cardinals will make even more deals as time unfolds here. Great job as always by you, sir.
Great job by you.
And a sensational job as always by our fantastic director, the one, the only Tyler Klaus. I'm Randy Carricker. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time right here in The Fight.
This broadcast from the Matrix Midwest Studios is brought to you by New Ground International. It's time to plan, design, and build your future. Start today at newground.com.